My name is Gary Wescombe. My background is accounting and CPA, and I've been with the Beckman Foundation probably 20 years in the capacity of a trustee, and I met Ted through that relationship. The Beckman Foundation is a nonprofit organization uh, designed to support research into chemical and life sciences. It was founded by Dr. Beckman and his wife Mabel, probably, I'm going to say 35 years ago. It's a little bit complicated why I joined. I joined the foundation because the then chairman of the foundation, a fellow by the name of George Arduous, asked me to join it because there had been a misappropriation of funds, and he wanted me to become involved so that that did not happen again. And that's when I joined the foundation, which was probably 20 years ago. Arnold Beckman is a very bright individual, obviously. He's a person that believes in giving back to society, and that's why he founded the foundation, is to basically take the money that he'd earned during his lifetime and give it back to science. Arnold was relatively old when I joined the foundation, but yes, I remember him. And I saw him deteriorate over years. He was pretty active when I first joined, even though he was in a wheelchair. He was still mentally alert. And as time went by, he became less and less involved. Well, when I first met Ted, I was somewhat intimidated by him. I didn't feel that he was approachable. I thought he was very critical and way too serious. After I got to know him, I realized his true qualities. He was extremely bright, very conscientious, and wanted to make sure things were done as well as they could be done. Of all the board members that have been on the foundation, I believe Ted gave the most to the foundation of any other board member. He was clearly the best board member the foundation, in my mind, ever had. It's been a real pleasure to know Ted and get to know him better, because if you have an issue, Ted is very approachable. He listens really well and will always give good advice. After having known Ted for the several years that he was on the foundation, I understood exactly why he was picked by Dr. Beckman to be the first director. And I feel that this recognition of him by this $5 million award, he's very deserving of it. Ted's a very conscientious guy, and at first he seems like he's not real forthcoming in his opinions, but he sits back, he listens, and he comes back with very concise, correct, in my mind, correct answers as to how to solve things and how to approach them. Well, when I first joined, it was a lot, probably not as structured, and it became more and more structured as Jackie Dorrance became involved, and we became much more organized and systematic in approaches to things, and a little more thoughtful than it was prior to that time. Ted was a big contributor to that as well, because he wanted to make sure things were done right and done appropriately. Well, I think it's important many people around the world and the country are doing the same thing at the same time in different areas and different disciplines. To bring all of those together is very beneficial and make sure there's no overlap, and where there is, that can be recognized and somehow dealt with so that better solutions are arrived at. and the interdisciplinary is the way to do it. Well, what it is it's a fund that will be used to establish to fund these young people in their scientific research and progression. And it's a great recognition and a great tribute to Ted Brown under the whole umbrella. The primary legacy is to further science and to bring betterment to the world in general through science. I mean, they're probably pretty well aligned, and that's probably why Arnold chose Ted, because a lot of his values and philosophies were the same as Arnold's. I worked with Ted for 10 plus years. I miss Ted, always enjoyed working with him, and like I say, probably the best director we ever had. We were here about, I'm going to say 10 years ago, and many of the things they're doing here are a little different than they are at the other institute. A lot of the experiments I found more interesting and more educational because they were kind of hands-on as opposed to maybe more theoretical. And I learned by hands-on, and I believe a lot of people learn by hands-on as opposed to reading texts or seeing other people do something. Well, I think Ted, well, obviously, he was the dean of the science department and gave a great deal of credibility and thoughtfulness in providing this institute. And it was a great investment for Arnold, and Arnold realized that at the time and fully backed Ted and this whole institute. It may exist, but probably not in the same function that it is now. I mean, who knows? I mean, you can't rewrite history, and Ted was obviously very instrumental in making this whole thing happen. Whether or not another individual would have been as instrumental, hard to say. Arnold went to school, did his undergraduate here at University of Illinois, so he had a great deal of fondness for the University of Illinois, and wanted to see something happen in the science field at University of Illinois, and was supportive of Ted in that endeavor, and he may have been supportive of others who were here as well. But I think the relationship between Ted and Arnold really fostered what happened here. The future of the foundation is to become increasingly involved in scientific endeavors and young people. One of the better things that the foundation does is they invest money in people in their first 3 years of professorship in the Beckman Young Investigators and fund projects that are the passion of these young investigators. And the things that have come out of that have been very beneficial and will continue to be beneficial, giving recognition to those individuals and the foundation as well. I've been proud of everything they've done. I don't think there's anything that stands out as being one thing versus another. I think the Beckman Young Investigator Program is probably one of the better things that we do, just because it brings individuals with special needs or special talents and things that they want to pursue to the forefront.